Welcome to the July GWPP Zoom Cafe. We have these wonderful women here. Say hi everyone for those on the recording. And we are talking about hiring great talent today. And this is something, and actually Gabby and I, we set this agenda months ago, around the topics that we wanted to talk about. And but it's very timely, I believe, because I'm hearing from so many women in procurement. They're either looking for a job and they're struggling to find that right perfect fit, or they're trying to hire great talent. And for some reason, it's a struggle. So I thought it would, it's great that we're having this call today to talk about it, to share our learnings and discuss maybe best practices so we can take those back to our organization. So just a little bit, I think I know mostly everyone, but just in case, I'm Amanda Prochaska. I had the lovely opportunity to start GWPP about 2 years ago now, believe it or not. It was in October 2 years ago that I took it on, but it has been a wonderful journey to be able to uplift women in procurement, provide communities like this where we can have these conversations. And we also have the LinkedIn group that has grown from about just over 2,000 to almost 5,000 now in the last 2 years. So, and this is global. So we have people from all over the world joining us in this conversation. And GWPP was the actual first ever global women's organization for procurement, which, believe it or not, that just what happened 2 years ago. So that's just crazy to me that we didn't have something before that. But so it's an honor and pleasure today. And I do want to also introduce Gabby. Gabby, you want to say a few words about your sponsorship and support of women in procurement?
Yeah, so I am from Jagger. We are a procurement software company. We're very excited to be partnered with GWPP to host these events on a monthly basis. And Amanda and I were chatting about when they'll go back to in-person just before this. So fingers crossed, hopefully we'll all get together someplace in person as well. But really, I've just loved the conversations we've had, the people I've gotten to meet through this, and just the wisdom everyone has shared. It's been so fantastic. So looking forward to another exciting conversation today.
I think we should all vote to go to Bermuda and meet with Elaine. I think that's I think that's our vote. Darlene, are you game for that too?
You're more than welcome.
Bags now.
Yes. Oh, that would be excellent. So, okay. So today, as I mentioned, it's all about hiring. And I have the opportunity of kind of facilitating the conversation. You will notice that there is no panel today, no speaker. It is open mic. And we love this because each of you have your experiences that you can bring to the table and share. And whether you were recently hired or, obviously we all have had that moment where we were hired into positions or you're actively hiring today. So I do want to kick it off by a lot of people have told me they're trying to hire great talent, and it has been a struggle for them over the last several months to find the right talent. So thought we would start with the first question of anyone have tips that they can share about how they're finding great talent in the market today? If anyone is, we'll see if anyone has some tips.
Biggest tip I use is network.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. We heard you in stereo there, Darlene. So networking, using your network to find great talent. How many other people are doing that in today's market? And have you had success with doing that? Yeah. Anyone want to share a story about any success that you've had in that space?
Well, not a success exactly, but finding great people and then just not having the budget, I think, has been another challenge for these really talented people, because they're out there. We know they are. It's just a matter of can we afford them? Are we willing to give them what they rightfully deserve when they ask for it?
Yeah. Yep. I'm helping out with a chief technology officer search right now. And man, did I make the wrong decision in my career. I could not believe how highly compensated those individuals are. So definitely a struggle. Has anyone had success in fighting for a higher higher pay rate or total package for top talent into your organization? And how did you go about doing that?
So I'm in the middle of that process right now with the budget submitted, but haven't heard back yet. So
Yeah.
fingers are crossed. Love to hear anybody else's feedback though on a successful endeavor.
Oh, Darlene, are you talking right now, Darlene? You're mute. If she was
Can you
talking
hear me
last-
now?
Yes.
I'm having the worst time.
Do you want to log out and log back in, maybe? See if that helps. Okay. All right. So that was a struggle when I worked at MGM Resorts for a while. It was just every single time we had our band, the compensation band that we were working with, and it seemed like people were coming in at the top of the band more often than not. So we actually did our own research to understand what the current band for individuals were and what our competition set looked like. So for instance, if we considered top talent within procurement, not just in the casino space, but they're getting recruited from all different types of industries. So can we do some of our own analysis to say, this is really what the current rates are in the market, especially because the market has changed so dramatically in the last 4 to 5 months that it's a good thing for people to do, just to take a step back and say, okay, what is truly the going rate for an individual? And then you can go back to your compensation team, go back to your leadership and say, this is really what we need to do to hire the great talent that we need in our organization. So Darlene, is it better now? Maybe. Maybe not.
One of the things that what you found here is that a lot of our job descriptions were actually outdated. And like we had to do a whole bunch of research to try and balance that out to the extent where it was more in tune with the environment that we're working in. Because some of them were like 10 or 15 years outdated. And technology has taken over. So just make sure that you have something that's current when you're actually looking for those talented people. And then, like you said, to make sure that you're also compensating them accordingly. Because what we paid somebody 10 years ago is definitely not something that they're interested in doing right now. And they can go elsewhere, definitely.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity of working with a bunch of thought leaders within ISM actually, and we had a conversation about soft skills, which I want to touch on a little bit today because I'm curious what everyone's doing in that space. But time and time again, these thought leaders were like, it's not the technical skills that we need to hire for, it's the soft skills. So to your point, we looked at, we said, okay, well, let's gather a bunch of job descriptions that you're currently using today for current postings. And do they reflect the soft skill need in those job descriptions? And it was insane because almost, I think there was 1 or 2 out of the large group that we gathered that actually mentioned as a top priority those soft skills. But most of the time it was, I have a hard requirement that you need 5 years of corn buying experience, or you need X number of experience, but it wasn't around those actual soft skills. So we're like, wow, these are outdated compared to what we're actually looking for. So it's a great idea to kind of take a step back and say, okay, do the job descriptions actually reflect what we need in our organization today? Darlene, this is fresh. Go ahead.
Elena,
Go ahead.
I totally agree. I used to work for a total rewards association, and so many times you'd have all these job descriptions, a bazillion of them, especially when you have mergers and acquisitions, and nobody ever came together to say, all right, let's line these up and get in sync and update them, because as this profession is changing, so many others are so quickly. And to your point, Elaine, about technology and the things that were written in those job descriptions, you probably were laughing out loud when you read them.
Yeah, I think it's the entire framework that needs to change. So, it goes from when we do annual reviews of performance. Are we weighing it on, the skills and the values and behaviors, right, that we're looking for, or are we weighing it on delivery, right, hard delivery? And then when we look at job descriptions and when we look at compensation is weighted on, I have 20 years experience whether it's good or bad, whether I'm a good leader or it's weighted on that. So it's performance reviews, it's compensations, it's job descriptions, it's the interview process, right? Weighted heavily on show me what you've delivered in this space. So I think the entire framework needs to change.
Ooh, I love that. Totally love that. So how many of your companies in the annual performance review look at what I used to always call the results and the how? Like how many of you actually look at both during that performance review process? Or okay, is it just for everyone else? Is it just goals that are reviewed? Okay. So Darlene, I don't know if your mic's working yet, but
It is, I
you
believe.
do both. Yes,
Can you hear me?
it works. Yeah.
Woo. Yes, we do. We have actually soft skills and hard skills, goals and objectives, and then we have stretch goals actually. So we try to do SMART goals with my boss and my team. The reason why I say that is we have a HR person that is actually really, really good and understands that it takes a lot more on the soft skills side to get things moving within a company, especially at the leadership level. So they take a lot of, it's like 50-50 goals versus getting things done via people and having those soft skills, which to me is a completely foreign concept. I've never had that before at any company from a performance review. They're actually thinking of getting rid of performance reviews, by the way. That's another conversation that was had. Are they effective? Are they really effective? So that's an interesting conversation that we're having as a leadership team right now is, are performance evaluations effective? You should see the debate. It's really fun, actually. I actually brought in, and I was pretty, I'll call naked, 10 years of performance reviews from a previous company where, things that I was touted for as being a strength, for others, it was considered a developmental, which I found to be fantastic. It's the same meaning of the word was considered to be a strength, and then it was also considered to be a developmental. So I didn't know what to do with the feedback. So I brought those in and I said, so what am I supposed to do with this feedback on a performance review, right? That my boss got feedback on me from my internal stakeholders, but the words are the same of what is good and what is bad. They're the same word. So what do I do with that? And it was to talk about people's perceptions and versus reality and what is really performance. And so it was an interesting conversation. It got really philosophical because there is a bit of people's opinions that are in there versus reality sometimes.
And we've talked about this a lot within GWP, like the aggressive versus assertive conversation. And that's one of the main ones that seems to come up in that performance review, like particularly for women who are in our profession. We're likely assertive people most of the time because of what we do. But some people might see that as aggressive at times. So we've had some lovely, if you want to look at the archives, I believe there's videos up on our GWPP website talking about that topic. It's a really, really good one. But going back to performance reviews, has any of your companies removed performance reviews or are also in conversations?
So our organization removed them probably about 4 years ago.
Wow.
So
how was that taken? Was it taken well?
And it is. It's actually really inspired most of the teams to have more ongoing communication versus that, hustle, the dreaded mid-year and annual. We had mid-year and annual, it was the same process, same communication going back and forth between you and your supervisor and your peers, right? The 360. And with my involvement and alignment with a lot of HR stakeholders, I know it's more common than not to remove the performance reviews.
We also had a conversation around what really gets done individually versus via a team nowadays.
Absolutely.
Right.
And not only the team, but what we have in our goals, it's individual contributor, it's your team, and then it's the success of the organization. So that's that 3 levels, right? Your individual contributorship, your team involvement, and then how that, how you and the team impacted the organization's bottom line.
Has there been an increase in business results after the change has been made? Like, was there any measurable difference within the organization, or maybe even retention of employees?
You know, that's an excellent question. I would love to explore that. For us personally, we have incredible retention and have had incredible retention. I've been with the organization going on 11 years now. And super, you know, year over year growth is just out of this world. So I don't know if there's measurable impact to that. We're just making the changes as we see along the growth. So I'm not sure if you could tie that to the success. I know personally, I feel that it's much more for me, I get much more impact out of those individual conversations and ongoing conversations versus the dreaded, I mean, I don't know about you all, but I hated providing my personal opinion about how I was performing. You know, I don't get a lot from that, right? I think I kick ass. Does everybody else believe that? I don't know, you know? So I didn't feel that was very helpful. So I like the new approach.
It is that self-assessment process was one of the most uncomfortable things in my career. Like, maybe one of the only times I've ever cried at work was in one of those sessions.
Well, and then
assessment
period to get there.
Yes.
I'm not a procrastinator, and I dreaded it, literally dreaded it.
Yeah.
It's awful.
For me, it was awkward. I didn't hate it. I didn't, it was just awkward. Why do I have to sit here and tout myself? You know, my work should speak for itself. You know, do 360 feedback. Why do I have to sit here and tell you? It's very awkward and it's just uncomfortable, right? I know for somebody, and trust me, Amanda's probably going, you don't like to talk about yourself, Darlene, you lie. It's true, I don't. I do not, I feel that my work should speak for itself. And the people that I work with, not only suppliers, but also in my internal stakeholders should be the ones touting what I do, not me. It's awkward. It's disgusting. It's not that I dreaded it. It's just weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Well, and then you start with start aging. You got to keep a notebook or a diary over the year to provide all that. I can't remember what I did yesterday. Never mind what I did awesome, 2 months ago. So it's like, I'm going to keep a self diary to conduct those. So now it's just the ongoing collaboration is just so much more, I think, impactful and beneficial. Both negative or constructive criticism with and amongst your stakeholders and colleagues and in cohorts in crime, and the positive. Much more communication is needed, just ongoing and not pent up and held for a specific moment in time.
Yeah, and as
Can I ask you a question? I want to know if you're seeing this, because we're talking about hiring talent for the future. And I'm in the middle of that right now, just hiring talent. This whole remote versus on-site versus hybrid model. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? I'm in the middle of California, in the middle of nowhere, California. I mean, it's Fresno, but actually our headquarters is in Dinuba, California. A lot of people are not in the mood to move right now. Sourcing, in my opinion, sourcing professionals can be done anywhere in the world. It's my personal opinion. You can do sourcing if you are an engaging person. You can do sourcing from anywhere. I don't know. It's really tough. I'd love to hear what's out there in the marketplace right now. I've been reading. I heard the millennial and Gen Zers are into the hybrid model. They do want to meet with people. They do feel that's absolutely necessary to meet face to face, but they are enjoying the remote work as well. So I don't know. I'm just curious. What is everybody hearing?
So that's such an interesting one. We are actually opening our headquarters again this week officially since the pandemic, but nobody is required to go back into the office. it's sort of like a desk checkout system. Offices will be available. You can reserve a desk if you want to go in, but you're not required to go. So I told my team, I don't live near headquarters. I'm fully remote. My employees live near headquarters. I've told them if they want to go in, they can, but as long as they get their work done, I don't really care where they work from. But it is really interesting to see, you know, when I see other colleagues in other offices that have opened, I'm a little jealous that they get to be in the office, but maybe that's just because I don't have an office to go into at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a little different because I'm in a manufacturing world, right? So we make food, right? So it's a little different in the industries that we all are in, right? So obviously, you know, our manufacturing folks are in every day. They never went home, or if they got COVID or not. We went to a hybrid model. So just to let you know, I'm in on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I'm in the office right now. We started that about maybe 3 weeks, a month ago. And we're remote on Monday and Friday, which I do actually really, really like. I feel like it's a long weekend, even though I'm working on Monday and Friday. And I don't mind coming in Tuesday, except for today. It was a nightmare traffic wise, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I don't mind. You know, it's just, there's so much weird stuff going on right now. I don't know what's going to go on. So it's really difficult trying to hire talent. And everybody's telling me, you know, is this a remote work position?
So
here in Bermuda, we have a lot of, we call them nomads that are coming from overseas and actually coming to live in Bermuda on a special work permit type of scenario. And there's a lot of people that came. And it's just, I don't know if it's because it's a safe environment or whatever, but it was a consideration and the government opened it up. And majority of people, like I work for the government, so we are in the office. I don't think there's very few that are actually working remotely anymore, but we do have a lot of outsiders coming into Bermuda as nomads, you know, and they're digital nomads. They're working wherever they want to, you know, type of scenario and living the life. So I think there is a desire for people to have the opportunity or option, for sure.
I was actually surprised on how many people, like how many companies made the firm decision either way. I was thinking that it was going to roll out to say, okay, you know, we're going to have an office space no matter what, but I thought it was going to be more like almost a little bit more individualized, where like if you're hiring a position, Darlene, and you feel as a leader it can be a remote position, then you can hire it remote. Like I maybe that's like utopia kind of a thought process that I'm going on, but I was really excited when this whole thing happened. This is like a exciting side benefit to all of the horribleness that's been happening around the world, but to be able to source talent from wherever they are, as long as they can meet the work requirements, I think it's a large opportunity for companies to seek the best talent for their individual needs and allow that option. Like, let's just say, Darlene, I know you're in California, you find someone perfect for your role who's in New York. Okay, if they want to move to California, cool, maybe that was on their bucket list. Maybe they want to go hang out at the beaches or whatever. Maybe that will work out, but offering the remote as an option, if they have family there, et cetera, is a huge opportunity. I was thinking back to when I first started at MGM and I was building my team. I had this whole hit list of people that I wanted to hire, and I had to check people off because I knew that they were never going to move to Vegas. Like, they had family in Chicago, they had family other places, and I didn't even contact them because I just knew they weren't going to move. But I could have hired that talent now because they could work remote.
Well, to that point, Amanda, I believe that is one of the biggest pain points right now for folks in the hiring mode is not having that ability to be flexible. I think the flexibility, for example, Gabby, at your office is exactly what these folks are looking for. This is what the top talent is going to want. It's beyond salary. It's beyond salary. Mm-hmm. It's the flexibility to, there's so many folks, you know, I've been working remote for, well over 10 years. There's so many folks that couldn't handle that. They want to be in an office, or they want that flexibility to go in and have a meeting in, you know, an office, but work remote. So I believe those companies, I'm surprised, Amanda, like you, I'm surprised that folks kind of drew the line in the sand. It was either or, right?
Yeah.
There are some that went full remote. A lot of folks pulled that back. And then, you know, but I believe the ones that are going to keep the flexibility and make the workspaces more of an assigned desk or a checkout type situation, change their floor plans up, those are going to be the ones that attract the right talent. Because there's just so many good options out there right now. You know, there's a lot of open positions, a lot of great companies looking for some great talent, and those with flexible options and a good culture are going to be the winners of the day.
Yeah. Cannot agree more. I'm curious, Alex, I know you're up in north of us in Canada. I'm curious on if you're seeing different trends up in Canada outside of the United States.
I think what I'm seeing is pretty much the same. I think there's a lot of variety in how companies are handling it, and you know, retention is a real sore issue right now, because as people just have gone through COVID and are really focusing on what's important, and work-life balance is certainly back at the top of the list, and they're realizing that I can work from anywhere. If I can work from here, I can work from anywhere. Where do I want to be in the world? And if their company is not willing to flex with that, then they're willing to go, right? I mean, priorities have definitely shifted. And so I think we're starting to see some more flexibility on behalf of companies. I'm not familiar with, I don't know of any specific companies that have said, taken the hard line and said, it's in person and that's it, which I think is a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Very. Any other, Ingrid, you said we have to do a massive overhaul. So what's your experience been so far on this, on this piece?
Well, a couple of things. So I am currently job searching. So I'm a candidate. So I'm interested to hear when Darlene and others talk about networking, because I have varied experiences. So I believe in networking, and as a hiring manager myself, I loved it when someone said, look, I have a great candidate for you. They've applied, look at that resume. And of course, I put that to the top of my list because a personal recommendation is valuable to me. I believe in that connectivity. But I often wonder, as I've been applying, are these genuine, job search? Is this a genuine job search, especially for a senior role that I'm going for? I'm thinking, shouldn't they, promote someone from inside? Why are they looking outside for that? Is it just a compliance posting? Right? Am I going to be at the bottom of the pile because they're going to get all these other recommendations? So I've had those kind of mixed feelings about whether these are genuine postings or not. But to the point, I believe networking is absolutely important. And in terms of hybrid working, I think commuting, we need to add commuting to that as well, because I think if and of course, it depends on the sector. So manufacturing, I work in manufacturing. If you're sourcing for manufacturing, obviously you need to be in a position where at least you can visit the facility, right? If you're not physically there, right? So I think commuting is probably appropriate for that as well. But yeah, some form of hybrid working, I think is important.
All right, so I have a request for everyone, since Ingrid, anyone else looking for a position right now, like open for work? Okay.
I am.
So okay, so Maureen, that's good to know. So I and Alexandra, are you also? You just raised your hand.
Hi, yes, I'm in a bit of a unique situation though. I'm located in Europe, and I'm just kind of dialing in to listen in.
Yes. We have some really good friends in Europe. So here's what I'm going to, if I can ask you guys. So after this meeting, what happens is, for anyone that's new, you get the invite for the next month's meeting. So. But Ingrid and anyone else, I think it was Maureen and Alexandra, we would love to learn more about each of you, because the women within GWPP, we have all kinds of connections with open opportunities. And speaking of networking, we're here to support you. So I'm happy to make connections with people. I have and a lot of us do, we have very good visibility into open positions. So I would love to meet each of you individually, so I can help support you as much as possible.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for the offer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would love for a LinkedIn invite if we are not already connected. I too have a pretty good network of folks and would love to hear more of what you're looking for so that I can connect you with someone within my network.
Okay. Thank you, Barb. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Is like one of those, unlike self-assessments in the annual reviews, connecting people with good positions is something I get really great joy out of. So it's always a pleasure to do that. Yes. Awesome. And Ingrid, to your point, here's Darlene, you and I have talked about this too. The compliance postings drives me nuts. Just drives me nuts. Like, are they just posting this because HR has to say that their HR is saying you have to post it for 3 days and they already have an internal candidate? Yeah. So I know that, again, just working your network to understand if you know people there, or if you know of people who might know of people there, to see if it's a compliance-based posting, so you don't waste your time, or you can get a little bit more of a description of what's going on in that organization, is always very helpful too. So yeah, feel free to network in that way too, to make sure that it's a valid position. Oh, Katie Smith. I love when Katie Smith joins. Hi.
Oh shoot, I'm a black square.
Katie, speaking of landing jobs, Katie just landed a fantastic job. Darlene, she's out closer to you in California. I consider California my neighbor because it's close enough, but
yeah, it is.
but congratulations, Katie, again on the opportunity. And she moved from Chicago out to California too, so it was a big move for her. Wow.
It was a big move.
Yes, I hope you're enjoying it too.
I am.
Yes,
I am. I'm loving it.
Good.
Where are you at, Katie?
I'm actually in Sacramento, so I call it near Bay. Near Bay. But yeah, it's been a really nice change. We've been looking to leave Illinois for a while when our daughter graduated from high school, and so the next move. I didn't imagine being in California. Darlene, you moved. You went coastal, right?
Same. Yeah, my kids graduated, and that's what I did too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Maureen, was it you that said you're also in California?
Yeah, I'm in Orange County.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm willing to relocate though, so.
Okay. Love that. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit. We have about 20 minutes left. I want to talk about hiring soft skills, because this really is interesting to me, because everyone talks about soft skills all the time, how important it is. Katie, you and I have had conversations at ISM about this, like it's just super important. But how do you actually go out and understand if someone has a soft skill? And then on the flip side, for those people who are looking for jobs right now, how do you showcase those soft skills appropriately via a resume? Like, it just seems so, like to Ingrid's point, it seems like it needs to be blown up somehow and thought of. But any tips on good practices to make sure that someone has the right soft skills coming into an interview or post-interview?
I'd love to just add a comment about that dreaded question. Tell us about yourself at the opening of interviews. One of my, it's actually becoming my favorite part of the process. But one of the things I've started to add, which I kind of like, and I've added it in my LinkedIn profile and other materials as well, is what other people would say about you, what your clients would say about you, what your coworkers would say about you, what's something you're known for in the office or where you work, or what you like to do. That's just something that's a personal touch that you see them respond differently to comments like that. So that's something I've been adding. So just putting it out there.
That's really, really cool. So I'll share an experience that I thought was just top notch when I was applying for a job at Kellogg's, and this was years ago. But they made you put together a presentation of yourself. I was totally intimidated by it at first. And I was like, you know what, Amanda, just have fun with it. Just showcase who you are, your personality, what you can bring to the table. But what it allowed Kellogg's to do, because it was a common practice for them, is to understand some of those soft skills. So how creative are you in your presentation? How can you communicate with others? How can you build that quote unquote relationship in the room as you're presenting it? So it was a great way for for them to learn those soft skills, even though it was a kind of a microcosm in the interview. But and it was fun for the interviewee to be able to showcase what you have. So I loved that practice. I'm actually hopeful that I'll be able to implement that in my own businesses as we continue to hire.
Yeah, I love that. I'll be stealing that one. That's a good one.
Taking notes, I know.
Yeah.
That actually reminded me of a practice at my last company, but it happened after you onboarded. That in our teams we had just a single slide, tell me about yourself, and it was more personal and people could personalize it. And there were templates, and then people were advised, share what you're comfortable with, don't feel forced to share. And one of the things that really attracted me to my latest company is they kind of did that, but verbally. They said, not only tell me about yourself, tell me about your family, tell me about your hobbies, what do you like to do? And sometimes people could feel that that was a little invasive, but it was really how it was presented. And so that's that kind of, getting to know somebody personally a little bit more. I like to ask folks when we're interviewing together, tell me about a time when you influenced someone. Right? Tell me about a problem you needed to solve. Because a lot of soft skills are, communications and change management, influencing others without direct authority. And it's interesting to see what people will do with those questions as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I have a fun question that I actually had two fun questions, and one I totally stole from one of my team members. So we were hiring, like we built a team from scratch at MGM. So we went from basically myself, so day one, to about 50 people in over a year. So we did a lot of hiring. So and we always did panel interviews to get multiple perspectives of the same interview. But my team walked out of an interview and they were all laughing and carrying on, and was like, what is going on? And one of my team members actually asked the interviewee, if you were a cookie, what type of cookie would you be? And the interviewee thought it was hilarious. It totally broke the tension in the room, like how you get nervous in an interview. It totally made the interviewee relax. And it opened up a really interesting conversation in the room about describing yourself as a cookie. Like, why would it be that way? And what, we just learned so much from people by asking that really silly question at the beginning of the interview. So you can do something like that. And I also asked a question about common sense. And not that there was any good answer to it, but I would always say, no, what is your definition of common sense? And thinking about soft skills, one of a great soft skill is thinking on your feet. And it's a totally unexpected question. And people had to really think quickly about how to describe common sense without saying it's common sense. So I always found that one valuable too, Katie, in the interview process, because you could see how creative people were and how quickly they could think through a response.
I like that. And it's unexpected too.
Yeah. Especially the cookie one, that completely unexpected. I don't know if any HR people would like that question, but we loved it.
I once had somebody ask me if I was a body of water, what body of water would I be in an interview? So
okay, that's a little odd.
It was definitely like, what is the right answer to this? Is there a right answer? I got the job, so clearly I picked the right body of water.
Okay, well, that's good. So on the flip side, for those who are on the phone who are seeking jobs right now, I'm curious around, for people that are hiring managers, and all of us have been at one point in our careers likely, how do people stand out in, if you're looking at resumes, if you're looking at, the candidate list of who has applied to your job, how can candidates really stand out on the soft skills side? Because it's so hard to describe that on a resume for people. Any tips there?
For me personally, it would have to be the uniqueness and the clarity and the formatting of the document. So, I mean, I just have a huge, things just pop out to me if it's a typo or a spacing or whatever. So visually, they would have to come, it would have to be visually done through the look of the document, the accuracy and the presentation of the document, from coloring to font to everything. I think personally, I believe that that's the only way to come across, to get any personality through a piece of paper.
Yeah,
think
it
some
makes
of-
such a difference.
Yeah, I was going to say I've seen some really better, more personal, replacement of, career objectives without them saying who I am. Instead of stating their objective, they state, who they are. Meaning, this is how I'm a practitioner, and this is what I believe, brings about, important results and collaboration. And I love to see the replacement of an objective with a personal statement. I think, and Barb, I agree with you completely. The thing that throws me off is if they have a great lead in, and then there are so many formatting and typo problems, it just makes me grind my teeth a little bit for them, because they kind of, almost immediately get slid into a second pile. But yeah, that lead in of that who I am statement. And I think, a lot of us, in kind of over time, like evolving our LinkedIn profiles, we've had to go through those iterations. And I think that might be that new pull in a resume of personalizing it in that header page, along with all the necessary be crisp, be concise, put actual deliverables in, and put it in a very nice graphic, clean format. But yeah, I like the personal introduction.
That's a super cool tip. One other thing that I received this feedback years ago, but I totally redid my resume because of it. Someone said, hey, instead of doing like the traditional, this is where I worked, this is kind of what I did, instead you put, this is where I worked, but here's the objective of why I was hired. Like, here's why I was hired. And this is how I accomplished that goal. Not that I accomplished it, but how I accomplished it, because that gives people real insights to how do you influence and how's your strategic thinking and do you build trusted relationships. So you can really showcase the how, kind of like what we're talking about in the performance reviews, where you should be looking at not only the goals, but the how that you get there. And not only did it help bring that to the forefront, but people noticed that it was completely different than a standard resume. So to Barb's point, it stood out against all of the rest of the resumes because of that. Yeah.
I just want to add one bit to it, because a lot of applications now are just being done online. So if you're able to capture that type of essence that you guys are talking about in a covering letter, if they allow you to upload one, I think that's where your best opportunity is to make a first impression. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then knowing people where you're applying, doing that networking, making the connections, making sure that, like, if someone knows the hiring manager in your network and they put in a good word for you, it just is, it's helped one of my friends move from a maybe interview list just recently to a absolutely we're going to interview this person list. So it makes a ton of difference. Very good. Okay. So let me see. I had like my we must talk about this today list. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I think that's it. Anything else that is on your mind when it comes to either being hired or hiring top talent that we didn't talk about today that's on your mind? No?
I think we covered a lot of it, Amanda, and I would say just you probably want to put retain top talent within that bucket, right? Like we spoke about when we first kicked off the call, just going through the salaries, the job descriptions, etc., making sure you have the budget within to retain that talent, because there is such a huge pull for talent. So you got to be sure you're keeping those engaged that you have today as well.
Absolutely. And it's hard. We were talking about the remote workplace. If you're used to having everyone and engaging your teams when they're all in person, you can see them face to face. And now you have this remote element to what we're doing. So it's just this added leadership challenge that I'm sure we all can step up to, but it is Top talent is getting recruited heavily right now. Yeah.
It is, and I'm in a bit of a boomerang situation because I'm working in manufacturing. And so we are following all the guidelines, but we are back at work. And so
Yeah.
we're hiring and we're back at work. And I've had some really interesting conversations about remote work. And that's, and it's not our culture as a manufacturer, in total. We're still balancing, some work from home. But it's been interesting talking to candidates, and there are a number of people that looking for pure remote. And again, I'm kind of in a boomerang situation from where I was with my previous company, where it was all remote, and now we are all back in, or at least coming back in.
Will be an interesting dynamic on how that works. So you and Darlene definitely need to catch up with each other. So it seems like there's similarities to what Darlene was mentioning earlier.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the first part.
No, that's okay. That's what this is all about, though. You guys can follow up afterwards and continue the conversation. So, so I do want to thank all of you for joining us today. I always like to leave a little bit of time at the end just for you guys to get to your next meeting or commitment, but it is truly an honor to know each and every one of you and to get to know you for those that are new and to learn from you. And that's, I just like to encourage women in procurement, take every opportunity that you can to uplift someone through your knowledge, to share something new, or even just to ask a question of someone else, because believe it or not, people love to share what they know. And it's an honor sometimes just to be asked. So, and that's what GWPP is all about. We're here as that community where we can build relationships, help people find their next opportunities, and hopefully all of us can benefit and live great careers within procurement and beyond. So what's going to happen now, if you, because you participated today, you will get invited to next month's call. These are somewhat monthly. We take a couple of months here and there because of holidays and stuff off, but we do like to get the group together to chat about different topics. So this is also recorded today. We do publish all of the recordings. So like Katie, you can see the first half of the call in the recording or share it with others. And then feel free to invite your networks to these meetings if you find it valuable. Pass on the good word, and we'll get together next month. So Gabby, any other words to close us out here today?
No, I think you summed it up really nicely. Another fantastic conversation, and I look forward to next month and seeing all of you again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again. Have a great month and enjoy your summer.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you for your support.